National Guard put its shields down in order to diffuse confrontation. And the crowd showed its appreciation. The president, though, has told governors to toughen up. And last night, outside the White House, that approach was very much in evidence.
I think the most striking part to most Americans last night and this morning is that you had what appeared to be those police, whomever it may have been, really attacked those who were peaceful protesters. And that's not going over very well with the American people last night or this morning. But you got to be very, very careful not to over-militarize this civil unrest and this entire unrest going on in this country and now beginning to go around the globe, because that's not going to make it any better.
Last night, the president threatened to use regular troops to deal with disorder if governors wouldn't do it. And overnight, there were signs that the military were preparing to do so. And while many Americans express horror at the idea, he has, in the Insurrection Act of 1807...
More than a dozen US states are preparing for another night of curfews aimed at curbing escalating violence and looting. But the restrictions imposed by authorities so far have failed to ease tensions. Today, protests have continued in cities across America, including Washington, D.C., where there have been dramatic confrontations near the White House.
National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien has denied there's systemic racism across the country's police forces, but that has put him directly at odds with some state governors, including New York's Andrew Cuomo, who is calling this morning for a review of the way authorities have responded to the protests after images of this police car ramming demonstrators were broadcast around the world. It is still an extremely fluid and potentially dangerous situation across America as we go to where. Let's bring in now our correspondent David Lipson on the streets of Washington, D.C. David, good morning. Describe the scene there.
Where they were sent to quell riots in 1967.
Well, good morning again. We're about...
The bitter memory of it lives on. After the acquittal of 4 policemen for beating Rodney King in 1992, the military was sent into Los Angeles. That's the last time a president used the Insurrection Act. Now the Democratic contender for that office believes de-escalation is key.
I ask every American, I mean this from the bottom of my heart, I ask every American, look at where we are now and think anew. Is this who we are? Is this who we want to be? Is this what we want to pass on to our children and our grandchildren?
In many cities, like New York last night, peaceful protests have been exploited by extremists and looters to move in. The dangers for those wanting to keep the focus on police brutality is clear. But just as looters and anarchists perennially emerge to take advantage, so the simple answers of promising police reforms or new tactics have a familiar feel. And one of the police chiefs who pushed reforms under President Obama now sees little hope for optimism.
And I've talked to a lot of chiefs, I've talked to a lot of sheriffs in this country, and they are outraged, they are angry, and they're saddened by what happened. But we all know that we all got to begin to do something different. And one thing that we clearly got to come back to at the end of all this, we got to meet back at the table, and we got to sit down. But building that trust and building that legitimacy, which has been horribly, horribly now scarred, is going to be an uphill climb.
Today, military police were deployed in Lafayette Square, scene of last night's disturbances. Regular troops now protecting the White House. Inside the military, there's unease about getting drawn in.
Technically, so military police technically have some training and experience in these things, but in practice it's very, very low on their priorities, and they don't do a lot of training or have a lot of experience with these things. And other forces, aside from military police, have basically